Welcome to the Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting for Monday, May 8th, 2017. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on May 4th, 2017 to the Hillsborough Beacon and the Courier News. Mr. Mahmood, can I have a roll call, please?
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky? Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mrs. Haas? Mrs. Haley? Mr. Kinst? Mr. Hio?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to go into executive session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975 provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act, resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough and the County of Somerset and State of New Jersey as follows. The matters to be discussed will be a student discipline matter and a legal matter. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we're going to be executive session. We'll be back at 7:30.
Lead the way.
All right, thank you. We're coming back from executive session. Mr. Mahmood, may we have a roll call, please?
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Here.
Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mrs. Haas?
Here.
Mrs. Haley? Mr. Kinst? Mr. Hio?
Here.
And Mr. Gillette?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we had some correspondence as listed on your agenda. We are also tonight going to have the public hearing on the budget, but we're going to do that a little bit later. Right now, I'd like to turn over the agenda to Dr. Schiff for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Every month we spend some time spotlighting our students and highlighting some of the wonderful things that are going on throughout our district. Tonight we have fourth grade students from Triangle Elementary School, so please join with me in welcoming them, and introducing them is the principal of Triangle School, Mrs. Lisa Heisel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. Our fourth graders have a wonderful program for you that I'm going to let our fabulous music teacher, Mrs. Maggie Crick, introduce as they get themselves set. Maggie has a whole speech, so I'm not going to usurp her time. Good evening, Dr. Schiff, members of the Board of Education, friends, and family. I'm the very proud music teacher at Triangle School. This evening, we would like to spotlight our fourth graders. Our fourth graders will perform on May 25th. The theme of their music show this year is peace, world peace. Our fourth graders have been learning songs that teach acceptance, understanding, and unity. They've created a peace sign out of their own handprints that will be displayed on stage for their performance. In addition, the students chose what they would like to contribute to the show. The students selected to be a soloist, and they would represent their class in their performance. The students in their classes were given a criteria to follow, and then they made the decision to choose their soloist from a blind audition. In addition, they will be creating program covers for the evening performance, and while others volunteer to recite speaking parts. The students have collaborated to make this program more than just singing songs. My colleagues, as well as our hardworking students, help make each performance the best that it can be. With the assistance of our amazing technology expert, Amy Mealy, and our incredible writing specialist, Grace Ferrano, we have turned this music show into an experience we will all never forget.
People should stop doing it. Stop fighting, stop wars, and stop being mean. They should do the right thing, not the wrong thing. People should definitely strive for world peace and work together to achieve this goal. There are many reasons why we should strive for world peace. Without world peace, there will be wars. Also, we waste resources beginning the war. And finally, world peace will unite us and make us a stronger race. World peace is important for all.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. And though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And though the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
Thank you very much. Let's give our fourth graders another big round of applause. What a wonderful job. Really excellent job. We're going to take a break in a couple of minutes so that the board can actually meet some of our students and their parents and express our appreciation for coming down tonight. But before we do that, I do have a few words to say after we share with you some investment that the board made this year. And that investment was for uniforms for the Raider Marching Band. And here to talk about that a little bit, and we're actually going to show the board the new uniforms this evening, is Mr. Michael Callahan, Supervisor of Fine and Performing Arts. Mr. Callahan.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Schiff, and thank you, board, for your generous support. So it's not often during a Board of Education meeting that we stop and we have a fashion show. But tonight we're thrilled to witness two members of our Hillsborough High School Marching Band. If Eblie Obenauer and Ryan Barry would please join us.
Sharp.
We are thrilled to debut our new Raider Band uniforms. Jules Horan, also thank you for being here tonight. Mrs. Horan and Mr. You know, it's recognized that all of you roll up your sleeves and do wonderful things for kids. Last Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning, there was literally 100 kids in a high school band room cheering and shouting with excitement. And it was actually being recorded and streamed where there was over 100 kids in the middle school band room cheering and shouting. And so I recognize school districts are huge organizations with complex needs. I really do want to thank you, the Board of Education, for rolling up your sleeves to fulfill those needs and giving our kids a excuse to cheer bright and early on a Friday morning. Thank you for your continued support of the Pride of Hillsborough, our Raider Band.
Yay. Good job.
Thank you so much, Mr. Callahan. The Pride of Hillsborough Marching Band. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I do have a couple more things to say, and then we'll take a quick break so that the board can meet our students and our families. I'm happy to share some wonderful news from around the district with our Board of Education and our community this evening. Congratulations goes out to Hillsborough High School senior Caitlin Ciarleo. Caitlin was among more than 1,000 students nationwide to receive a corporate-sponsored National Merit Scholarship. Caitlin will receive the National Merit ADP Henry Taub Memorial Scholarship. Scholarship winners are selected from students who advance to the finalist level in the National Merit Scholarship competition and met the criteria for their scholarship sponsors. Congratulations to Caitlin, and I wish you much success. During the school year, our staff members have the opportunity to take technology classes during non-school hours in order to fulfill 6 hours of professional development requirements. These classes are taught by district turnkey trainers, our teachers. These classes allow staff members the opportunities to take training classes taught by their peers that are meaningful and applicable to their classrooms at a time that is convenient to their schedule. Tonight, I'd like to share a few interesting statistics from this year's turnkey classes. Over 80% of our staff completed their 6 hours of training and did not need to attend the April 27th in-service day. Our turnkey training conducted over 7,300 hours of training prior to our in-service day. Those same trainers offered their peers 415 unique classes throughout the 2016-2017 school year. Thank you to this year's turnkey trainers for providing so many informational applications and hand-on technology classes this year. Thank you. I'm also pleased to announce that 13 Hillsborough High School students that auditioned were named to this year's prestigious All-State Chorus. This is more than double the number of Hillsborough students from last year. Congratulations to the following students that were named to the mixed choir. Lena Bachlaw, Evan Centofonte, Erin Chang. Erin, by the way, scored second in the state of New Jersey. Matthew Conlon, Jillian Cusolino, Ryan Howard, Rebecca Letts, Gloria Ma, Magha Swani, and Madison Sheehan. Congratulations to the following students that were named to the treble choir. Amira Ali, Maya Wagner, and Suruti Yanamandra. Thank you to all of these students, as well as to Juliana Labiondo, our Director of Choral Music, for representing Hillsborough so well. Congratulations. Congratulations also goes out to Team 75 Robo Raiders on their recent success at the first championship in St. Louis. At these World Championships, the team earned many accolades. The team was awarded the Pit Safety Award and ended the competition 10th in the Delay subdivision out of 58 other teams from around the world. The team captained the 8th Alliance in the Delay subdivision, an honor that the team has never achieved in their history. The team made it to the quarterfinals but lost to the championship-winning Alliance. This is the furthest the team has gone in the competition since 2001. Congratulations to the students, advisors, mentors, and parents who made this year so successful. Way to go, Robo Raiders.
Hey, Robo Raiders.
Recently, many of our district parents and staff members have or will be receiving a school messenger alert regarding water testing that has been conducted at each of our district schools. As required by the Department of Education regulations, all drinking water outlets in our schools must be sampled for lead. As we receive these results, the district is providing the details to the school community and taking immediate remedial measures for any drinking water outlet when needed. A copy of the test results is available for each school and can be found at www.htps.us. I also want to say, just a final note, that some of our schools celebrated Teacher Appreciation last week. Teacher Appreciation is also celebrated this week. National Teacher Appreciation Day is tomorrow, May 9th. And I couldn't leave the dais this evening without expressing, from the board's perspective, our sincere appreciation for the work that our teachers do each and every day to make a difference in the lives of the children of Hillsborough Township. Let's give them a big round of applause. Teachers are not the only people, however, that make a difference in the lives of children here. We have child study team members, guidance counselors, school nurses, instructional assistants, administration, in fact, the people sitting at this dais as well. Everyone who is involved in the work of helping to support the work of teachers as they work with children in classrooms should also be congratulated and thanked for their service as well. Whether they drive a bus, whether they are cleaning our cafeterias, all of us are working together as a team in an effort to help improve the learning and the lives of the children of this township. Thank you to them as well.
Yay.
And at this point, I'd like to ask the board for a brief recess so we have an opportunity to meet some of our students and thank the parents that came out tonight.
Okay, we'll take a short recess.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back from a short recess. Each year, as required by law, we have a separate public hearing on the budget this year. So this portion of the meeting will be officially our public hearing on the 2017-2018 budget. And to begin that, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Schiff, who has a presentation for us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I prepared a presentation similar to the tentative budget that I presented a little over a month ago, and I will be pointing out changes and updates along with some substantive changes that have occurred since we met about a month and a half ago and approved the tentative budget. Just to remind the community of our process, we begin developing the 17-18 budget in October of the year prior to. It's a time when principals and department heads submit their initial budget requests for my review, as well as Mr. Mahmood, our business administrator's review. In January of 2017, I submit the budget request at that point to the board, and the board is split up into multiple committees that have oversight into different areas of the budget. We split it into the education section, the operations section, and the human resources section. On March 2nd, we received our state aid notification and found that our state aid remained flat once again, and I have some data that I wanted to show to you. Once again, for the past 6 years, it's remained flat. On March 10th, the Operations Committee met to review and make last-minute adjustments to the tentative budget that was presented for the board vote on March 13th. So this is the follow-up to the March 13th tentative budget. Between March and late April, committees continued to meet to discuss any changes that they would like to see to the budget. And then today is the presentation of the final budget along with a public hearing, and the board will act on the budget recommendations this evening. So just to highlight the changes between last month and this month. As some of you may recall, we had I think a very spirited conversation about prioritizing elementary school counselors, and there is a request to fund a elementary guidance counselor in each of our elementary schools. Right now we have 6 elementary schools, and our school counselors are shared between 2 schools. There was a request to add 3 additional school counselors. And we went back, we took a look at our budget, and in order to add those 3 positions, we needed to reduce 2 positions, and we chose to reduce a teacher tech coach position, which is a person who comes out of the classroom for a year, helps and supports and builds capacity of their colleagues in the area of technology, and then returns to the classroom the following year. That position has been eliminated. And we have eliminated 1 section of transitional primary. Currently, we have 4 sections. We're moving down to 3 sections. We have currently 49 students that receive transitional primary support. Those classes can get up to 22 in each class. We have seats for 66, so we believe that we can service all of the need within 3 sections. We also had monies that were set aside to increase the daily sub rate. The sub rate will remain steady during the 17-18 school year, and thus allowing us to reallocate funds to support 3 new elementary school counselors. Another change that occurred since the tentative budget was that we had an adjustment to our health care waiver. Annually, we have to receive county superintendent approval of our budgets. They needed us to make adjustments to our health care waiver. That adjustment reduced the waiver, which means reduced our ability to tax the community by about $200,000. The offsets include reductions to Dr. Antunis's budget, the assistant superintendent's budget, which includes speakers, some unanticipated training, and professional memberships. We're looking at shifting some of those expenses to the Title II, which is a federal grant, but we may have to do less, obviously, than what we've done in the past. We also reduced some surplus in order to prove to that $200,000 reduction in expenditures. So what are we looking at in terms of program improvement and funding our strategic plan? Our focus for the 17-18 school year in a curriculum area is English language arts. We are resourcing that particular area with additional supplies, training, and supports. We are maintaining all current programs. We're not eliminating any program. We are replacing we're adding Chromebooks at K2, replacing the Nexus 7 tablets, which are kind of out of use. They're no longer useful for us. We are expanding our American Sign Language program. We really had an extraordinary amount of interest. We initially, when we budgeted for current year, we budgeted a half position. We actually had to increase that to a full position, and we know that children are going to want to take an American Sign Language 2 as a result. So we're expanding that program. This budget maintains all class sizes. We're not increasing our class size max. And of course, we're adding 3 additional school counselors at the elementary level. Our cost drivers are the same cost drivers that I spoke about last time: salary increases, healthcare cost increases, and special education costs. These are the cost drivers in all public school systems in the state of New Jersey. We are a service-oriented industry. Our investments are in our people, and those are the major expenditures that we have within our budgets. We've been managing costs through a variety of techniques. We have implemented an energy savings improvement plan, which has significantly reduced our energy cost in our district. Our employees are now contributing significantly to the cost of health care. That has helped offset the cost for our local taxpayers. We have revenue generating that we're doing in our district that has been extraordinarily successful. We have the Children at Play program, or the CAP program, which allows families to keep their kids at our elementary schools and have them receive a program for a cost, a tuition, that nets close to $200,000, which are costs that fund other programs within the district, that does not have to increase the levy. We also are very proud of our transportation efficiencies. We have a very high transportation efficiency that is rated by the state of New Jersey and is on the comparative spending guide. We've changed how we're funding long-term substitutes. No longer will we be compensating them at the same rate as first-year tenure teachers. They're now compensated at a lesser rate per diem. And we had some changes as part of the collective bargaining agreement to healthcare waivers. That has saved additional monies. In terms of personnel requests, we added additional personnel in the current budget that is rolling over into next year's budget. You can see that most, if not all, well, actually all of these particular positions are related to special education increased need. We hired an additional 1.5 special education teachers, another half preschool disabled teacher, and 7 instructional assistants to work with our classified students, a total staffing increase of 9 positions there. We're also budgeting additional positions for the 2017-2018 school budget. That includes another 1.5 special education teachers, 3 instructional assistants, and of course the 3 new elementary school counselors, for a total of 7.5 newly budgeted positions in next year's budget. And then, as I spoke about before, we do now have some staffing decreases for next year, including the teacher tech coach and 1 transitional primary position. Now, this is a very important chart that's behind me. This shows how much state funding we have received since the fiscal year 2010 all the way up to next year, which is fiscal year 2018. In the 2009 and the 2010 school year, we received more than $26 million. We're still not there and have remained relatively flat for the past 7 years. 7 years of flat state aid, while costs continue to increase, puts additional pressures on local property taxpayers. And that needs to change. It's very disappointing that, that resources and funding from the state of New Jersey has not translated into increase to direct aid to public schools across New Jersey. There is close to $800 million of new spending out of the state budget. Only $16 million is going to be additional aid to direct aid to public schools. It tells you about the priorities at the state level, and it's very, very frustrating. 7 straight years, you see those bars are not even close to where it was in 2009-2010 school year. So let's talk about the tax levy. The tax levy is in 3 different components. The first is the increase off of the general fund tax levy from the 2016-2017 school year, which is current year. We can raise, and we're recommending raising the 2%, which is about $1.8 million. Now, this is a change from what we had before. Due to increases in healthcare costs, we can waive some of that cost back to our property taxpayers. This was about $880,000. It's now down to $674,000 and change. And then there's bank cap, which are monies that are available if you don't go to your statutory max. That's available at about $807,000. So what does that mean in terms of taxation for our community? The tax levy is increasing 3.47%, moving from about $90.5 million to $93.6 million. That means the tax rate is going up to 1.605. That's on $100 of assessed property value. The tax increase, and this, when someone asks me the question, well, how much are my taxes going up as a percentage? How much are they increasing? The answer is 0.63%. It's a very, very modest increase. For a home that's assessed at $400,000, the annual increase is $40 for the year. But Hillsborough Township is not just Hillsborough Township. We also include Millstone Borough. They actually have a separate levy. Their levy is going up about as much as Hillsborough Township's levy is, 3.67. Their rate is 1.748 on $100 of assessed property value. Their tax rate increase is much higher than Hillsborough Township is. It's at 3.02. That means a home assessed on the average home in Millstone is about $316,000 or $317,000. The increase is about $188 for the year. The chart behind me shows what we call the total budgetary cost per pupil. This has been updated. This is different than what I showed you during the tentative. In between the tentative and the final budget, they update the entire state database. So now we have the Taxpayer's Guide to Educational Spending 2017 figures, when last month it was 2016 figures. And it's changed. And the change has been our differential, our delta, is actually increasing. So the average for the state of New Jersey, in terms of per pupil expenditure that can be compared from one district to the other, is now $15,714. There's also like districts. We're actually in a category of other K through 12 districts with 3,500 students or more. Those districts, which we're in that same category, spend on average per pupil $15,575. We spend $14,964. But it's not just our total expenditure. When we tease out total administrative costs per pupil, the state average is about $1,700. Like district average is about $1,600. We spend about $1,400 per pupil on administrative costs. So what does that mean when you kind of total it up? Our spending, and this has been adjusted from the prior presentation, it used to be less, now it's more. Our spending is $750 less per pupil than the state average. So if we spent what the state average is per pupil, if we just spent not even more than the average, but just the average state per pupil, a conservative estimate is that we would need to raise an additional $5.4 million. So we're doing all of this without having to raise the levy by that amount. I just want to share with you that, and this is a news slide, some of the accolades that have come our way as a district and how our high school has been recognized. Just last week, the Washington Post published America's Most Challenging High Schools. They looked at 22,000 high schools across the country. Hillsborough was in the top 10%. New Jersey Monthly found that our high schools ranked 47th out of over 330 high schools throughout the state of New Jersey. Nietzsche found best public high schools in New Jersey. Hillsborough High School ranked 62nd. Best school districts in America. Hillsborough Township Public Schools ranked 227th out of all of the districts in the entire country. Newsweek found that Hillsborough High School ranked nationally at 217th out of all of the high schools, over 22,000 in the entire country. This is extraordinary. Our kids do wonderful, wonderful work. It is not coincidental. We have extraordinary teachers and staff members and leaders and an incredibly supportive community that helps make that possible. And this is the budget that supports it. It's in 3 different categories. General fund is what we use to spend for all of the resources to operate our district. Then there's grants and entitlements. We receive about under $2 million worth of federal grants and other entitlements. And there's also debt service, which is the monies that we spend to support bonding that helps with construction. Our overall increase to the budget is 3.67, and the final budget is $128,105,527. So just some key points. English language arts curriculum is going to be our focus. We are adding 3 additional elementary school counselors for the 17-18 school year. We are maintaining our class sizes, and our per pupil spending continues to be well below state averages, while achievement remains well above state and national averages. And with that, I'll take any questions from the board. And I know we're going to turn it over to the public as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schiff. Board? I'm going to open to the public, and then we can come back to the board and also so you can think. All right, so since this is our public hearing on the budget, I'm going to open up now for the public for comments on the 2017-2018 budget. I was just seeing how long I could be silent. All right, so seeing none from the public, I'll go back to the board. Comments from the board on the budget?
Haven't we had enough of discussion?
I'll go to Mrs. Haas. She's going to say something. You have to say something on the budget. Come on.
I don't know why everybody's so quiet tonight, but, nobody ever accused me. So, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who worked on the budget, Dr. Schiff, Lisa, Iman, all of the administrative staff, and Ashley, and the first year, congratulations. It balances, yay. And, it's always an awesome task to put together a budget that balances the needs of a wide variety of students and takes care of our staff appropriately. And to me, the most important thing about a budget is that it's a statement of our values. And as much as Jordan talks about cost per pupil and the administrative section, the thing that makes me most proud about our cost per pupil is we're always at a very high end in terms of how much of the cost per pupil goes directly into the classroom. And I'm very proud of that. I remain proud of that. And I hope that we will always continue to put our priorities where they belong. And obviously, from all the accolades, it's,
Makes a difference.
it's showing.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud that we're doing as well as we do. And I, of course, bemoan the $5.4 million that we would have for enrichment if we were to be at the level of the state average. But since we are barred from doing that, we do the best we can. And I think that's pretty good. So thank you once again.
Thank you,
Dana? Judy?
We need a new microphone for the budget.
No, I don't really have anything to say about the budget, but you had mentioned about our rankings in Hillsborough, and I just wanted to say thank you to all the teachers because we wouldn't have such high rankings if it wasn't for our amazing teachers, so thank you.
That's true. I agree with that. Anyone else? Okay, so seeing no comment, I'll take a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Brett and Judy seconded. Yep. Okay, this is your last chance now. Now we can have further discussion. I'll give you one last chance. Okay, seeing none?
But let's call the items because they're different items.
I'm sorry. This is to, okay, I'm sorry. The motion, well, I asked for a motion to approve the budget.
Yeah.
So this is a motion to approve the budget.
5.2. You can also include in there.
Do we have to do the waiver first?
And
Okay.
We're going to have to go through that.
Okay, so the motion to approve the budget, I don't think we need to amend the motion, but we'll take it as meaning to approve the budget, to approve the health benefits waiver,
And the bank cap.
and to approve using the bank's cap funds. Okay? I'm assuming that's what, everyone took it to mean that?
So moved again, if you.
Okay. All right, so this is 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4
Yes.
on your agenda. Okay, roll call, Mr. Muhammad.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations, Board, on approving the budget. Thank you, Dr. Schiff.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
There's a second part to the superintendent's report that we still need to report on.
okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. We also, before I get to the district reporting requirements on violence and vandalism, we do have professionals from our environmental group that is and has done environmental testing on the water. If there's any questions specifically for that, they're here to answer any questions that the board may have on that. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Volpe, who is going to walk us through the violence and vandalism report for reporting period number 1, which is September through December on the violence and vandalism report. Mr. Volpe.
Thank you. Before I walk through that, I'd like to tell all the teachers in the district how much I appreciate them both as an administrator as well as a parent of 4 students who attend here in Hillsborough. So Happy Teacher Appreciation Day. Board members, as you know, 2 times a year by code, we are required to report out at a public meeting all incidents of violence, vandalism, as well as harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And in the second half of the year, we report back about the first half of the year. So the numbers I'm about to show you right now are for September through December of 2016. And what I try to do on these reports is give you a little bit of a longitudinal look so that you can see any patterns over time. An unduplicated count from September through December showed that we had 27 separate instances that happened throughout the school district. 11 involved violence, and you can kind of see down the list right there, totaling up for the 27. None of them involved any cost to the district as far as any kind of repairs or things along those lines. And most of the consequences or actions that were taken involved in-school suspensions for students. We also list out the amount of offenders and victims. If you see there's more offenders than victims, that's because sometimes students participate in these things as a group, and the disciplinary action that is taken. Now, in that unduplicated count, there were 7 instances of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Dr. Schiff, if you could scroll down just a little bit further. We have those broken down by school, so you can see patterns or it's the overall reporting when it comes to the school. We had 19 HIB investigations between September and December. 7 of those were confirmed. When it comes to harassment, intimidation, and bullying, we continue to train staff and we continue to train students about how to best treat each other and also how to conduct proper investigations. And if you scroll down just a little bit further, you can look at those trends over time. We have 4 different semesters, essentially, as far as what was reported. You can see the numbers that were reported to the school, and if you scroll down just a little bit further, the actual confirmed HIB events out of those reportings stays fairly consistent over time. As you can see, going back 4 semesters, there's 5, 5, and 7, and 7. So again, we continue to educate our community, we continue to educate our staff as well as students, and you will hear from me again in the fall about reporting periods from this past January through June. If you have any questions about this, I'll be more than happy to take them at this time.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Volpe about violence? No?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you in 6 months. Okay, very good. Let me throw it out to the board again. Any questions for our environmental testing professionals as far as the water testing from the board? Okay, and public? Do they have any question about the water? Okay. Try to give them enough chances. Okay.
Good evening, Henry Goodhue, Hillsborough Education Association. Just a point of clarification. The initial report that was being given by Dr. Schiff in the opening of the meeting stated that every water source was tested within a building. I just wanted verification as to whether or not that was correct.
Yeah, let me clarify. Not every water source, but every water source that a child or a staff member would drink out of. So there are sinks and faucets that are in classrooms. All of those have been tested. There have been some that were outside that haven't been tested. In custodial closets, shouldn't be tested. But it hasn't been a perfect process. So as we go through it, if we have missed a faucet or something that initially we felt doesn't need to be tested, that staff does feel should be tested, we'll test it. It's not a problem.
Okay, so at this point, it's any that a staff or student would possibly drink from, correct?
Right. So we're doing ice makers. We're testing in kitchens also, not just water fountains.
And the 83 spots at the high school that were tested, that includes every possible one, including the ice makers in various locations, the fax classes.
Yeah, there's 2 reasons why it's actually less outlets than other buildings, and we would think that it's the largest building. It would have much more than what we would typically have. But high school classrooms don't have student bubblers, which are the student water fountains, and many classrooms don't have a sink in it either, as they would in elementary schools. And there are some that the water has already been turned off. So there are some that haven't been tested, haven't been used, and that's what was reported to me from PARS Environmental. I asked the same question because when we first saw the data come back from the high school, I was expecting to see twice as many outlets than what we would see at Aris or at the middle school. And we saw about 80 or so, I think, at the high school, somewhere around there. And I asked the question, and they answered that. And if they wish to add to it or clarify, they're here this evening.
Yes, please.
Yeah, but you need to talk in the microphone. If you wouldn't mind just introducing your name and who you're representing.
Good evening. My name is Rafael Torres. I'm the Director of Health and Safety at PARS Environmental and the program lead for our lead and drinking water program. Particularly at the high schools, what we see in our other school districts is the high schools usually have far fewer than the elementary schools, just as Dr. Schiff had mentioned, because the number of bubblers aren't there. Just to clarify again some more information about the process, we're doing water fountains, bubblers, food preparation sinks, nurses' sinks, teachers' lounges. I believe in the high school we did home economics as well. So anywhere there is water consumption, anywhere where food is being prepped, anywhere where a pot of coffee is being made, we're sampling that on behalf of the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So, just in reviewing the procedure, was the I didn't read all the details of it. Was the water run for like a certain number of time, like a certain length of time before it was sampled?
So the process starts with first identifying exactly where we're going to sample. The night before we sample, the district and their representatives go and they flush the water through the system. Per the requirements, the water needs to be in the pipes and in the fixtures between 8 to 18 hours. And that's probably your standard time, for water to be sitting, whether it's over the weekend, holidays, et cetera. So that's why they want the water to be in there. We come in first thing in the morning, sometimes relatively early, before school opens and before staff enters the building. That water has to be stationary until the process is completed.
So you're saying that when they go in to test the next day, they don't run it for any length of time, it's just whatever comes right out?
Correct.
Because they flushed it the night before. Okay. So my other question is, I just noticed in two of the schools, I think it was the middle school and Woods Road School, it seemed that, and I think also Triangle, the main office seemed to have higher lead testing. Is that something that you would expect?
It's kind of hard to say where we would expect to see elevated concentrations. Those locations may not have the water use that other outlets may have, such as the kitchen, which is being used every day, nurse's office for dispensing medications to students. The general age of the building, the materials used at that particular outlet, all of that factors into whether or not we can expect to see an elevated concentration of lead.
Well, I just think it's kind of strange that both the middle school and Woods Road School, the nurse's office, both had high lead content.
Again, it's kind of hard to kind of guess where we'll see it. We have tested buildings as old as the 1920s and 30s that didn't have any elevated readings. We have tested buildings built as late as 2005 or 2006 that did have elevated readings. So a lot of factors do go into the final test results.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Goodhue, you had another comment?
Yeah, just one more question. I believe he may have already touched on it, but we had some of the elementary schools in particular with relatively high levels and some with extremely high levels. I believe one going into the 200 parts per million, something along those lines, when about 15 is what is allowable. So I would just like to hear what we're going to do in those extreme situations and how we're handling any of them that are coming back as elevated above 15 parts per million.
No, why don't we refer to our professional?
Yeah, there you go.
Stay close by.
So what do we do with the outlets that have elevated levels? What's the next step on those outlets?
Well, the first step is resampling. So when we come out initially, we're taking the initial draw, the primary draw, and that is the water that is in that particular outlet. If we have an elevated concentration of lead at that particular outlet, we'll come back and we'll resample as well as take a flush sample. So the purpose of the flush sample is to test the water that's behind the wall to see if there's any upstream contaminant contributing to the elevated elevation in lead. What we have seen in the past is that upstream source isn't there. So when we remediate, we're looking at essentially the outlet and the piping that goes back to the wall. There's a couple different things we can do. Probably the easiest is to take that outlet out of service if it's something that's not essential. We can replace the outlet and the associated piping. There's filtration that can be used. There's administrative controls. So if we want to designate an outlet that a teacher or staff member was using to make coffee, we can now designate that as a hand wash only outlet. So there's a couple of different factors. Again, it really ties into what the proposed use of that outlet is, the population that's using it, and of course, budgetary concerns.
Thank you. Thank you.
Final question for
Sure.
you. He mentioned budgetary concerns. Do we have monies allocated for this, or is this going to come out of surplus? Is this something we can expect any sort of remuneration from the state for?
Mr. Mahmood?
So there's a portion of this, Mr. Gadu, that is going to be reimbursed by the state. We are not there yet as far as the actual dollar amount. As far as budgeting for it, the board has, this is a compliance issue, it's a law, so funds will be found to be able to do this. Just expanding on that, as far as as Pars indicated, if we are looking to remediate, in some instances change the faucets, the board would prioritize that. The key here is safety, so we're not going to put a number on safety, and our goal is going to be, if a faucet completely needs to be redone, we'll do that.
So I appreciate you saying that. So the intent of the board, if I understand you correctly, is not necessarily to make hand washing stations or close them down, because many of these, most of the positive results came back within our elementary schools. So every single one of these is pretty much in use constantly. So the intent is to remediate then, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Gadu, just speaking, and obviously we'll talk to the Board Operations Committee this Wednesday, but I can tell you, knowing our board, that this is not one of those things that they're going to take lightly, and I can see our board making the recommendation to make sure that the sinks are still being used, but they're remedied with new faucets or whatever the remedy's going to be. But I don't think the intent is shut it off and say it's not going to work anymore and just, completely shut it off.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Schiff, is that your end of your? Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
We can
so-
move on to approval of minutes.
Okay, so we're going to go on to approval of minutes. I lost my, there we are.
7.1.
So we have approval of minutes for the April 17th, the 2017 public meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for April 17?
So moved. Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Motion passes.
Motion passes, okay. Did we have executive? I didn't.
No, we did not.
My paper ends. Okay, good. All right, I don't believe we had any committee meetings, did we? No committee reports? Okay, no committee reports. With no committee reports, should we go to public for action? Okay, so let's go to public comment portion of the meeting for the action agenda or new business. Is that how we usually do it? I'm sorry. Anything, you'll have a second chance again at the end of the meeting under old business if you think of something. We're not that, we're not going to hold you up. All right, so I'll turn over at this, I'll turn over at this point. Unless board members have new business, I'll turn over to Dr. Schiff for the action agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education: to approve travel and related expenses, overnight trips, summer credit recovery program, and to approve staff members for the ELL summer enrichment program, and policies for second reading that have been reported out in committee and voted on for first reading at the last board meeting. Seeking a motion.
Okay, do we need a motion, please? Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I was thinking about if I had a discussion point on my own, sorry. I was thinking like a board member, not like the president for a second. Everybody's good with everything? All right, so let's have a roll call on education.
Sure. Mr. Bogusevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Hio?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Schiff?
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions that I'm recommending under the area of human resources: to approve the policies for second reading, as well as approve addendum to the collective negotiations agreement, approve retirements and resignation, approve revised resignations, revised leaves of absences, revised long-term substitutes, transfers of assignments, leaves of absences, and appointments for the current school year, mentors, student teachers, extra period coverage, pre-approval as well as approval of extra period coverage, approval of sixth period coverage, and approval of the renewal of non-tenured certificated staff members, as well as the renewal of non-tenured HPSA staff members, and the approve the renewal of non-tenured unaffiliated administrators.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the HR section? No? You're looking at me, Dana? No? Okay. Don't look at me. Okay, so no discussion. All right, let's have a roll call.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Hio?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, let's go to operations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gillette. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations: to approve monthly financial reports, to approve the line item transfers, bylaws and policies for second reading, and to approve a resolution regarding a student disciplinary matter.
Okay, so
So moved.
You're going to
No,
have to
we
pull
have to separate.
12.4.
So 12.4.
Yep.
Are you separating?
Yep.
Yes.
all right, so let's vote on. Let's have a motion for 12.1 through 12.4.
How about the three?
And second, and we'll
you'll
vote
pull it
this
out?
one separate.
Sure.
Okay, the resolution will vote separate.
The resolution is
It's
12.4.
12.4.
Oh, I'm sorry,
12.1
12.1 to 12.3.
I'm so confused.
You're right. The resolution would be 12.4. Okay, any discussion on the three main items?
No.
No? Okay, so roll call. Mr.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Hio?
Yes.
And Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so let's have a resolution on
12.4.
12.4.
the resolution.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? No. All right, roll call.
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Bogoshevsky? Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Abstain.
There we go.
Okay.
Forgot where we did.
Mr. Hio?
Yes.
And Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We had the HIB review in your packet. You saw that. New business. Do we have new business? Old business, I'm sorry, old business. Old business from the public first.
No, I was just saying old business, not.
Yeah, it's old business. Yeah, it's old business, you're right.
Good evening, Thomas Isabelli, 9 Upper Neshannock Court. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I didn't know if you meant to miss. I hope I don't sound foolish by saying this. Did you approve the motion to approve the 2017 summer athletic camps? I don't know if I heard that or not.
Yeah, that was actually pulled from the agenda. We had some procedural things that we had to take a look at. It will be on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Thomas. I should have mentioned that and reconfirmed it for the board. I apologize. Any other new business from the public? Old business, the public. Any business. Let's put it that way. Any business from the board.
Just as we were celebrating many accomplishments, the Auten Road National History Day is
Yes.
going to nationals in June.
Wow.
So that was very exciting.
Maybe we can continue that for the middle school. I know we've had some comments on that. I know we didn't specifically state it in the budget. It's not an item that needs to specifically be named in the budget. We can still have some discussion on that if we want to make it available for other students for next year. We can talk about that outside of the budget. Anything else? Or I have one last thing to say.
No, me.
What?
I want to say something.
Okay, you're going to steal my thunder? Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I just wanted to thank all of the
Oh,
students
yeah.
that were involved in the skit. the last week on every 15 minutes. I applaud everyone that was involved. And I just have one quick question. I know we mentioned it in the beginning, but did we figure out what we're going to do once warm weather comes for all the students and teachers that suffered in the fall with the heat index?
We actually have on the Operations Committee agenda to talk about the plans for air conditioning ARIS, which is something that the board has been discussing, as well as the middle school as well. So there are discussions going on that way, and hopefully we can expedite this as quickly as possible.
Brett Cooper.
No, I was involved in the 15 minutes. I was the attorney.
Oh, very good. Congratulations, Mr.
It was a good program.
Congratulations.
Is there any way that we could do that on the weekend so the whole community can be involved to take place? I mean, it's pretty spectacular.
If you never had a chance to actually see it, and I appreciate the comments, Ms. Boguszewski and Mr. Cooper, it is quite a phenomenal experience. It's based upon the idea that there's a death that is associated with drug and alcohol abuse every 15 seconds. It's quite extraordinary.
Minutes, seconds? Oh.
Minutes.
I'm sorry, minutes, excuse me. But the idea that the students actually go through a simulated car accident that leads to fatalities and arrests in a very real and compelling way, and that we have all of the students that participate in it is fantastic. We don't do it every year. We try to do it every now and then. We'll wait a year. I think that if we did it on the weekend, we wouldn't have the type of participation by students that we currently have. I think that's the reason why we don't. But there's a huge amount of community involvement, from first responders to a funeral home, to the prosecutor's office, the municipal prosecutor's office, the court system, the health, the hospitals also get involved with it. 101.5 actually has helped and has provided additional resources. Really remarkable stuff.
Mr. Cohen.
I just wanted to expand upon what Dana was saying. The reason why we were thinking about the weekend is, I think, along with our push earlier this year regarding fifth graders, educating them fifth and up, I think that's when you got to get to them. Talking to them when they're already in high school. I don't remember my daughter ever not talking about, I'm not getting that car, Dad, and I'll call you. But a fifth grader, he can have an impactful memory. So I think maybe next time we do it, can we include fifth graders? Let's say fifth graders.
It's interesting because I think it's actually
very impactful. I mean, this is a lot for adults. I had to go through it with the girl actually, I mean, they actually put them in body bags and zipper it up. I mean, that's something that I don't think a kid can handle.
I don't know if, all right, well, can we investigate?
We can look at what programs are available similar for young grades.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a curriculum that's around it.
Absolutely.
Because the
Dr.
parents
Tunis,
actually
you're in
write
charge.
letters to their
Find out.
children. If I had time to tell you.
You got spare
I mean,
time,
the
right?
parents of the children participating.
So you're all telling me this is scared the shit out of them, right?
It's
Yeah,
very
do it. It's very.
Let's do it.
It's very
Let's do it.
emotional.
The teacher, the parents come into court. I mean, the girl was in a jail cell and came in handcuffs, in the orange jumpsuit, and sat there in handcuffs the whole time. Meanwhile, the parents would come up and hold up pictures of their supposedly dead kid, and tell about they'll never get to graduate. I mean, it was very moving. And then they have a whole thing the next day for all the seniors where they have a memorial service where they show the whole thing and they have people speak about their, in essence, dead kids. And it's very, it's very.
It sounds like something like that should be thought out, but I think we should get this in front of fifth graders. So when they're
maybe something. I mean,
maybe juniors and sophomores, maybe more high school students should probably see it other than just the seniors.
I think we have
about
it's mainly for seniors, right? The senior project.
It's only seniors.
So maybe we could start with juniors, maybe expand it to juniors or something. Anybody else? Okay, so Dr. Schiff mentioned we talked about Teacher Appreciation Week, all the other professions that we have here, and you did happen to mention nurses but it's also Nurse Appreciation Week, also nurses that are here. So I wanted to say thank you to our nurses. Our school nurses do a terrific job. I know my kids have had some tremendous school nurses that have really helped them throughout their long careers in high school. Will it ever end? And the younger grades. So thank you, nurses, from the board. And that's all I have. So ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.